Part 3 is the final part and it covers everything that happens on and after the press. Make ready common defects and how to fix them, finishing operation, and a full comparison between offset and digital.
Before a single sellable sheet comes off the press, there is a significant amount of setup work to do. This is called make ready. Make ready is one of the most important concepts in offset printing because it directly affects cost and efficiency. Every minute spent in make ready is a minute the press is not producing. Every sheet used during make ready is a sheet that cannot be sold. Let me walk you through the 6 steps of a typical make ready. Step 1 is mounting the plates. Each plate for each color is bent and clamped onto its cylinder using registration pins. Precision at this step determines how well the colors will align throughout the run. Step 2 is setting the impression. The pressure between the blanket cylinder and the impression cylinder is adjusted for the specific paper being used. Too much pressure crushes the dots. Too little and the transfer is incomplete. Step 3 is ink and water balance. The ink keys are preset based on the image coverage on each color. The fountain solution flow is calibrated to match the ink volume. Getting this balance right is a skill that experienced press operators develop over years. Step 4 is pulling proof sheets. The press runs at low speed through the first 200 to 500 sheets. These are waste sheets. They allow the ink and water to stabilize and give the operator a real sample to evaluate. Step 5 is the color OK. The press operator and sometimes the client checks the printed proof against the approved reference. Adjustments are made to ink density, water, and registration until the result matches the target. Step 6 is the production run. Once color is approved, the press goes to full speed and the job runs. A good operator monitors print quality every 250 to 500 sheets throughout the run. A typical make ready takes between 30 and 90 minutes. Reducing that time is one of the biggest efficiency goals in modern press rooms. Even on the best presses with the most experienced operators, defects can occur. Understanding what causes them and how to fix them is what separates a skilled press operator from someone just running the machine. Let me go through the most common offset printing defects. Misregistration is when the colors do not align correctly. You see a blurry edge or a color fringe around text and images. The cause is incorrect plate alignment. The fix is to re-register the plates and check gripper pressure. Dot gain is when the halftone dots print larger than they should, causing the printed image to appear darker and the color to shift. The cause is excessive ink density or impression pressure. The fix is to reduce ink or pressure and recalibrate. Ghosting appears as a faint, unwanted repeat of a previous image in a different area of the sheet. It is caused by uneven ink distribution on the rollers. The fix is to redistribute ink and adjust roller settings. Scumming is when ink starts printing in areas where it should not, the non-image areas. This means the ink and water balance has shifted. Too much ink, not enough water. The fix is to increase fountain solution flow and clean the plate. Setoff is when wet ink from one printed sheet transfers to the back of the next sheet in the delivery stack. The fix is to reduce ink, apply drying powder at the delivery, or increase curing speed. Hickeys and spots are small circular imperfections in the print caused by debris on the blanket or plate. The press needs to be stopped, the blanket washed, and the plate cleaned. Picking is when the surface of the paper tears during printing because the ink tack is too high for that paper. The fix is to reduce ink tack, increase fountain solution, or change to a more suitable paper. Ink trapping failure happens when wet ink from a second color will not adhere properly to wet ink from the first color. This is managed by using inks with the correct tack gradient in the correct printing sequence. Quality control throughout the run uses densitometers to measure ink density, spectrophotometers to measure color accuracy, and loops to check dot structure and registration visually. The sheet comes off the press, but the job is not finished. In many cases, what happens after the press is what transforms a flat printed sheet into the product the customer actually ordered. This is post-press, also called finishing, and it is where a great deal of the value in print is added. Let me take you through the main finishing operations. Cutting and trimming uses a guillotine to cut stacks of printed sheets to the final size. The crop marks printed on the sheet guide the cutter. This is usually the first finishing step for almost every job. Die cutting uses a shaped metal die to cut non-rectangular shapes from the sheet. This is how folding cartons, labels, pop-up elements, and shaped packaging are created. Lamination bonds a thin film to the printed surface for protection and aesthetics. Gloss lamination gives a shiny, vibrant finish. Matte lamination gives a soft, elegant look. Soft touch lamination gives a velvety premium feel that luxury brands love. UV varnish or spot UV applies a clear coating over the printed surface. Full surface UV gives overall protection. Spot UV applies the coating selectively to specific design elements, creating a contrast between the varnished and unvarnished areas, very common in premium packaging and business cards. Folding creates brochures, leaflets, and carton blanks from flat sheets. Score lines are pressed into the paper first to ensure clean, accurate folds. Binding turns pages into books or booklets. Saddle stitching uses staples through the spine. Perfect binding uses a glued spine, which is what you see on most paperback books. Case binding is the hardcover method. Foil stamping presses metallic or holographic foil onto the surface using heat and a shaped die. You see this most often on luxury packaging, book covers, and premium business cards. Embossing and debossing press a design into the paper to create a raised or recessed tactile effect. No ink is involved. The result is purely tactile and visual, adding a level of elegance that print alone cannot achieve. Now let us be honest about where offset printing wins and where it does not. Starting with the advantages. Print quality. Offset produces the finest dot detail, the sharpest text, and the most consistent color of any printing method. The first sheet and the last sheet of a 100,000 copy run look identical. Cost at volume. Once you are above 1,000 copies, the unit cost of offset printing drops significantly. The higher the volume, the lower the cost per piece. Substrate range. Offset can print on paper, board, plastic sheets, metal foil, and specialty stocks. Very few substrates are off limits. Ink versatility. CMYK, Pantone, UV, metallic, fluorescent. No other process offers the same range of ink options. Speed. Modern sheet-fed offset presses can produce 15,000 to 20,000 sheets per hour. Now the limitations. High setup cost. Every job requires plate making and make ready. For short runs, this cost per copy becomes very high, not economical below 500 copies. For small quantities, digital printing is almost always the better choice. No variable data. Every sheet printed in offset is identical. You cannot personalize content without an additional digital process. Lead time. Pre-press, plate making, and make ready all add time before the press even starts. If you need something same day, offset is not the answer. Understanding these trade-offs is what allows a print professional to recommend the right process for every job. Let us compare offset and digital directly because this is a question that comes up constantly in the industry. Setup cost. Offset has a high setup cost because of plates and make ready. Digital has almost no setup cost. You send the file and print, cost per unit. At high volumes, offset wins clearly. Digital cost per unit stays the same regardless of quantity. Best run length, offset is ideal from 1000 copies upward. Digital is ideal for 1 to 500 copies. Print quality, offset still produces the finest detail and most consistent color. Digital quality has improved enormously and is very good, but offset remains the benchmark. Variable data. Offset cannot do it. Digital can change the content on every single sheet. That is a significant difference for personalized print, labels, and pharmaceutical serialization. Speed. Offset presses run at up to 15,000 sheets per hour. Digital presses typically run at 3,000 or less. Lead time. Offset takes longer because of pre-press and plate making. Digital can deliver same day. The conclusion is simple. There is no universal winner. The right process depends on the job. Volume, quality requirement, delivery time, and whether variable data is needed will always guide the decision. Good print professionals know both processes and know when to recommend each one. Let me show you just how widely offset lithography reaches into our daily lives. Newspapers and magazines. Web offset presses run millions of copies at ultra high speed for daily and weekly publications worldwide. Books and textbooks, both color and black and white book printing, from children's picture books to university textbooks. Packaging and folding cartons, the cereal box, the cosmetic box, the pharmaceutical packaging. If it is a printed folding carton, it is almost certainly offset. Labels and stickers. Product labels for food, beverage, and health products in very large identical runs. Brochures and catalogs, marketing material, product catalogs and corporate brochures, calendars, diaries, art prints, gift wrapping, and promotional posters. Corporate stationery, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, and annual reports where brand color consistency is critical. Pharmaceutical packaging, medicine boxes, patient leaflets, and compliance labels that require exact color and legal compliance. Food packaging, food safe printed cartons and wrappers for FMCG brands at enormous production volumes. Think about the products around you right now: the packaging on your desk, the labels on the bottles in your kitchen, the book on your shelf. Offset printing made most of that possible. Before we close, let us go through the key terms every print professional working with offset needs to know. Make ready, all the setup work done before the production run begins. Mounting plates, calibrating ink and water, pulling proof sheets. Dot gain, the increase in halftone dot size from the digital file to the printed sheet, typically between 10 and 20% on offset presses. Pre-press operators compensate for this during file preparation. Registration, the precise alignment of each color plate relative to the others. Poor registration produces blurry prints or visible color fringes around edges. GSM grams per square meter. The standard measure of paper weight, 80 GSM, is standard office paper. 350 GSM is a premium business card. Halftone, a pattern of dots of varying size that simulate continuous tone by optical mixing. All color in offset printing is created through halftone dots. Blanket, the rubber-covered cylinder that transfers the inked image from the plate to the paper. Needs to be cleaned regularly and replaced periodically. Gripper, the mechanical fingers on the impression cylinder that grab each sheet as it enters the printing zone and guide it through precisely. Fountain, either the ink fountain, which holds and distributes ink, or the dampening fountain, which holds and distributes the water solution. Trapping, a small overlap applied between adjacent color areas in the prepress file to prevent white gaps appearing if the colors slightly misregister on press. Scumming, a defect where ink prints in non-image areas caused by an incorrect ink and water balance. CTP, computer to plate, the modern process of using a laser to write images directly from a digital file onto an aluminum plate. Impression, the pressure applied between the blanket cylinder and the impression cylinder to transfer ink to the substrate. And that is episode 2 complete. We covered a lot of ground today. What offset printing is and where the name came from, the ink and water chemistry that makes it work, the 3-cylinder system, all 8 parts of a modern offset press, CTP plate making, CMYK color and halftone screening, paper types and GSM, ink types and drying methods, make ready and press setup, common defects and how to fix them, post-press finishing operations, the advantages and limitations of offset, a full comparison with digital, 12 real-world industries that depend on offset every day, and 15 key glossary terms.
And that's bring episode 2 to a close. Across all 3 parts, we completely covered the complete picture of offset lithography, the name and history, the chemistry, the 3-cylinder system, the press anatomy, CTP plate making, CMYK, color, paper and ink types, make ready and press setup, defects and how to fix them, post press finishing, the advantages and limitations, the comparison with the digital, the real world applications, and the key glossary terms every print professional needs to know. That is a lot of ground, and we covered all of this because of this subject deserves that kind of attention. If you work in printing or packaging, come back to these 3 parts whenever you need to review on these concepts. This is for your reference. In episode 3, we move into flexography, the Anilux roll, flexible rubber plates, high-speed roll-to-roll printing, and why flexo dominates the flexible packaging and label industry worldwide. If this episode gave you value, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone in the printing and packaging industry. See you in episode 3. Thank you for watching AK PrintTech Hub.